How did people clean themselves before soap was invented? Soap has a pretty simple formula and a long history. Now, what we're looking at here is actually a real ancient bath, an ancient Roman bath, and basically like a spa thing. And this is in the city of Bath in England. As we know, England was part of the Roman Empire. Now, there's nothing quite like the satisfaction of scrubbing off the dirt, sweat, and grime from a long day. A little soap and suds go a long way in keeping us clean, but how did humans wash themselves before the invention of modern soap? Soap has a pretty simple formula, long history, but for centuries, water was the primary means of bathing. For example, in the Indus Valley Civilization, a culture that thrived in parts of what is now Pakistan, India, and Afghanistan from 2600 to 1900 BC. The Great Bath in Mohenjo-daro is considered one of the earliest public baths for steam bathing, but steam only goes so far. Before soap became mainstream in personal hygiene, there would have been a lot of people who smelled really bad. Judith Widner, historian at Mississippi State University, who writes about material culture, told Life Science. Although modern formulations of soap contain many extra ingredients, basic soap is fairly simple concoction. It's a salt of a fatty acid, meaning a combination of an alkali, a water-soluble compound, and a fat. Christine Konkel, a chemist at Albany State University, told Life Science. And as a chemical compound, a soap molecule has a water-loving head and a grease and oil-loving carbon chain tail that surrounds and lifts up dirt molecules, Konkel explained. This basic formula was key to pre-modern soaps in ancient civilizations. Plants, animal bile, oils, and exfoliants like sand and wood ash were all staple ingredients of these early cleansers. Now, ancient forms of soap are hard for historians to trace because of one major barrier: soap degrades, said Seth Rasmussen, a chemist historian at North Dakota State University. We can use chemical dating in archaeology, but that requires that samples have survived since when they were first produced until now. The earliest writers record of soap-like substance dated around 2500 BC in Mesopotamia. Clay tablets indicate that the Sumerians used water and sodium carbonate, a powdery salt such as from plant ash, to clean themselves, and beer and hot water to clean wounds. A couple hundred years later, the Akkadian Empire in the Mesopotamian region used a mixture of plants such as date palm, pine cone, and shrubby plant called tamarisk. Such a mixture is consistent with the basic ingredients of modern-day soap: an alkali such as tamarisk, an oil such as date palm, and an abrasive such as pine cone, Konkel and Rasmussen explained in their paper on soap in antiquity. Indeed, there is not actually that much difference between modern soap and ancient soap, Ridner said. How is that possible when modern science did not exist in ancient times? People probably created soap unintentionally, Konkel said. Cleaning a greasy pan with plant ash under high heat would produce soap. For example, as would boiling animal fat with wood ash. Historians have traced these methods back to Babylon and ancient Egypt. Natron, a type of salt, clay, and the talc-based soapstone are other ingredients that have been documented in Egyptian remains, possibly as part of their bathing routines, or more grimly as a chemical result of decomposing bodies, Rasmussen said. A different approach? The ancient Greeks and Romans took a slightly different approach to bathing. After rinsing in water, they lathered themselves in scented olive oils. Then they used a curved tool called a strigil to scrape off the remaining grime, but this may not have been a cleaning technique as so much as a masking one, Rasmussen said. Oftentimes the oils would have plant extracts in them that would be aromatic, he said, so in these time periods oils were used as perfumes. Most of these soapy mixtures were used to clean textiles rather than human bodies. and it was really more of an industrial process than it was a cleanliness issue, Rasmussen said. Historians are not quite sure when bathing with soap became more routine, but in the Western world it was not until much later, likely in the early to mid 1800s, Fridner said. It's the whole convergence of factors that are causing it, she said. For one, inexpensive fats became widely available, Ridner said, and then the Industrial Revolution moved soap production from households to factories. City engineers and reformers also turned towards cleaning up immigrant communities, which also facilitated the shift. Plus, the Civil and Crimean Wars placed a bigger emphasis on sterilization in hospitals and healthcare. It's kind of all these factors coming together to create a mass market for soap that companies like Procter & Gamble in the US started to take advantage of, Ridner said. This is by Marlo Starling on Life Science. Please leave your comments and thank you for your support. My Patreon account, the daily posts are 5 videos daily and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.